MEC Kumalo, who's acting the MEC DID. We are also joined by Lieutenant General Mawela, who's the head of the police in Gauteng. I did not get a name.
Call him Matuna.
Matuna?
Yes,
Yeah.
MMC.
Okay.
MMC Ekurule.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Premier, I don't want to waste time. I want to just give it to you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Uyo. Truly appreciate it. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you. The MEC responsible for health is going to join us shortly. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Ekurhuleni municipality representative by the MMC for being here. It's a very important partnership. We've been going through this together, and the relationship was strengthened during this period. I also want to thank General Mawela, our Provincial Commissioner of the Police. What we've been doing ever since the tragedy hit us, we have assigned the police to be the official statistics collector on the basis of the investigations that they are conducting, but also on the basis of the verification process that they normally undertake. So I want to thank PC for coming. I also want to thank member of the Executive Council, Mziaifani Kumalo. He's also responsible for intergovernmental relations in terms of COCTA, but is here in his capacity as the acting MEC responsible for DID, infrastructure development. MEC Maile has taken leave, has been working throughout the December period, has taken leave for some few days. As I indicated, MEC Nomantu Nkomaralu should join us shortly. She was at Baragwanath Hospital attending to some of the tasks assigned to her. As soon as she joins us, I will be in a position to allow her to speak as well. Sadly, today marks 20 days since the fateful day that left all of us reeling from the untold anguish that befell the province and the nation following that tragic Boksburg tanker explosion incident. It leaves me numb that since that last update we gave you, which was on Wednesday, the 4th of January 2022, we have since lost 3 additional lives. This brings the number of the deceased from this terrible incident to 40, a number that saddens us as we continue to work with the police to collate this information. Through the records of the police, we can now account for every person that has passed on. We can also account for those that have been hospitalized. We can also further account on those that have been buried or in the process of being buried by their families. There are no words to adequately convey words of condolences to the affected families that are now having to deal with 2023 on matters that they didn't foresee. It will take time for the wounds to heal. But we are ready as the Gauteng provincial government, together with all components of local government, Ekurhuleni, to walk this painful journey with all the affected families, and further assist whichever way we can as government and also institutions of the state. As I've indicated, we have now lost 40 people who have since passed on, and this number is inclusive of 12 health workers. 5 are still in various hospitals at Charlotte Maxeke, Johannesburg Academic Hospital, Puluseng Hospital, and Tellamkhwerane Hospital. 23 have been discharged and they have been taken back to their families. Our report, as I've indicated, is based on the confirmed numbers, but we know these numbers may change as we get more confirmations from the facilities. We have streamlined the communication channel so that we don't allow those that can take advantage of this disaster for other ulterior motives. The confirmation of the deceased, the recording of those that are injured, but most importantly, the provision of support has been strengthened so that as government we can manage all these particular matters. We are quite aware that there were 8 Ekurhuleni Emergency Medical Services personnel that were seriously injured during the explosion. The status quo is still as per our last update, where we indicated that 6 of this personnel has been discharged, while 2 remain in hospital. After the explosion, we have to move urgently to restore the remedial work at Tambo Memorial Hospital. Due to the urgent nature of this work, the Department of Infrastructure Development appointed a contractor on the 26th of December to repair the doors and the windows at Tambo Memorial Hospital. We can confirm that the construction work for the replacement of broken windows at the hospital, including the nurses' residence, has been completed. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Department of Infrastructure Development, the Department of Health, for the cooperation of ensuring that we restore at least the basics, especially where our nurses reside. Some of the work is almost complete following delays because of the festive season break. But due to the extent of the damage, the casualty unit at the hospital remains closed. The Department of Infrastructure Development Maintenance team has developed specifications and costing for this remedial work, and they've given to the Department of Health for approval, and I'm briefed that the Department of Health has approved, and DID have subsequently appointed a contractor, and a contractor was appointed on the 4th of January 2023. We now anticipate the conclusion of this work in 4 weeks' time, so that that hospital can go back and function again. As the provincial government, we continue to stand with the many families whose lives have been changed forever by this tragic incident. This has not been an easy period, particularly for those who lost their loved ones. We implore our health professionals to provide the best care to those that are still on their road to recovery. Yesterday, we made aware, officially so, that some of the affected families are considering or are taking steps to institute a class action suit. We really believe this is within their right to pursue whatever means of recourse available to them within the legal system. This, however, does not mean that government must not pursue the matter to its logical conclusion, and we thought this briefing will be a tool to give an update to affected families, affected communities, affected institutions, so that all these stakeholders can be assured that as government We have not abandoned our mission to protect, care, and give them the necessary support. We will be the last one to leave the scene. And until each and every family is supported, until each and every institution is supported, I want to commit the Gauteng provincial government to be there until the last moment. The end of this tragedy, that is the Boksburg Kenga explosion, cannot be undermined. This is a serious disaster that has hit our province. We appreciate the messages of support, in particular the message we received from the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. We continue to get messages across the globe, messages from institutions that have provided the necessary support, in particular the NGO sector and other institutions that gave us support. We remain grateful and appreciative of their work, their commitment, and also the sacrifices that they've made so that we can support all these families. We are fully aware there are other families that want to bury their loved ones outside the borders of our country. We are in consultation with those families, together with their embassies, to ensure that we don't add extra pain and frustration as they prepare to bury their loved ones. We are of the view that all these processes should remain within the team that the Gauteng provincial government is working with, together with those that are providing additional support. If we coordinate all our efforts together, we really believe they will make an impact in supporting the families. I had a difficult task, extremely difficult task, of visiting each and every family that had a family member passing on. It's an extremely difficult moment. We still don't have answers of what happened. We remain hopeful that the investigations led by our police force will assist us to reach at a final conclusion on this matter, so that we can go back to these families and explain what happened. The provincial government will continue to provide support to the affected families in the form of trauma, debriefing services, and many psychosocial work that we can provide to the families. The City of Ekurhuleni community development workers are conducting door-to-door visits in the area to identify and refer affected families who have not yet received any assistance following the explosion. We remain solid as the Gauteng government to give a helping hand, to work together with the Ekurhuleni municipality so that all families can feel our support, our care, and where possible, our comfort. We will not retreat from the scene. We will not close this chapter until those that are affected are satisfied that we can close this chapter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Premier, for those remarks. Colleagues, let's actually ask questions. Just raise your hand and name who you are and the institution you represent. This is Christopher, you start, and then come Heidi. Okay, at the moment is two. Chris?
Awesome.
Good afternoon, I'm Christopher from SABC Television News. Just some clarity on the condition of the current persons that remain in hospital, obviously critical. Also, perhaps to the police, how far is the investigation thus far? What we since heard was that driver of the tanker, the charges against him have been provisionally withdrawn. And Premier, I hear you say that it's been 20 days since this tragic incident. I think at this point, from what we've heard over the festive season, was that the condition of those involved in this tragedy was very severe. We don't want to be unoptimistic in saying that the death toll is expected to rise. We don't know what will happen. But how do you assure these families that justice in this particular aspect will prevail? And I ask you this because you have been working in conjunction with the police, and you're saying you're hoping that the investigations that they will conduct will yield the necessary results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Just pause it away.
Thank you. It's Heidi Jacobs from ENCA. I just have two questions. PC, I know you've been asked this, but if you can give us more clarity on the status of the investigation, because the NPA in court about 2 weeks ago could not proceed with anything because there is no docket. So why is there no docket, and what charges, if at all, does the driver face, and will you be adding more charges? What is the status around that? And then MEC for help. I just want to get clarity on, the Premier briefly touched on it, but in terms of the status of the refurbishment of the hospital. Also, we've been receiving a lot of reports from healthcare workers that they are really not coping. And as much as you can't shut the hospital down, they feel this is very overwhelming. What is being done to provide support for them, but also for patients that can't use the wards that are still closed? Thank you.
Okay. You want to pass the mic? Oh, let's start with the PC first. Can I get the mic? Thank you, Nada. Okay. It's fine. That's all right.
Greetings to our Premier, MECs, MNC, members of the media. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to us once more. Let me also reiterate what the Premier has said, to say no stone will be left unturned. The charges which you have put against the driver: number one, reckless and negligent driving; two, malicious damage to property because public and private property was damaged; culpable homicide; possibility of adding other charges. Yes, it is there, will be guided by the prosecutors. There is a possibility that an inquest will be held, and thereafter they may even decide whether to can change culpable homicide to murder. But it is the decision of the courts, that one. But for now, this is what we have put together. And over and above that, we have also looked into some of the bylaws which are governing that particular space. For example, there is a protocol within the city of Ekurhuleni in terms of how do you respond to the emergency situation. We also look at it, whether each one of us have we complied with any directive which is stipulated there.